Internet Governance, Come Summit 2015. This is from ASSOCHAM when we organize these kinds of platforms and we get the opportunity to share our opinions, to share our thoughts regarding a particular subject so that we can explore new horizons in that particular field, in that particular industry. Today we are going to explore the internet governance because we are going to talk about how governing the internet, how we can have a control on it, how we can, it can be a consensus to us. So before starting, let us pray to that Almighty God to lighten us our path from darkness to brightness. So we would just like to request that Almighty only one thing. Astoma Sadgamaya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. And to do the nobility of lamp lighting, firstly, I would like to request all the distinguished dignitaries here on the dais to please take a step forward and do the nobility of lamp lighting. Please have a huge round of claps for them. This is the rarest of the occasion when we get the galaxy of exemplary dignitaries over here at the same time. And here we would like to request the Almighty to give us the wisdom to differentiate between the right and the wrong path. May we please have a huge round of claps for this lightning. Thank you so much. I request you to kindly be seated on the dais. Friends, when we talk about the internet, it is actually a boon to the society which can work as a rarest of the tool to take us to the heights in the field of education, in the field of organization, and in the field of participation for making a meaningful society. That is why governance of the internet is also required. And we all are here in this summit to explore this horizon today. But firstly, as we know that today, as we have many of the distinguished dignitaries here on the dais, it is a rarest occasion when we get the golden time of these personalities. So we would like to welcome them with a bunch of flowers. So firstly, I would like to request the Director, Regulatory and External Affairs, Vodafone India and member ASSOCHAM, Shri P. Balaji, to please present the bunch of flowers to Shri John M. McCaslin, Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs, Embassy of the United States of America. Please put your hands together. We welcome you here, sir. Friends, when it is being said that if you want to give someone something, then you should give your good time. Because you can take everything back from a person, but not your good time that you have given to somebody. That is why we always call it a precious moment when we share our time with someone. And we are thankful that today we also have with us many of the personalities with whom we are going to explore many more things in the coming up sessions today. So, firstly, let us just give a floral welcome to that personality who has given his precious time to us. We would like to welcome Shri A.K. Bhargava, Advisor Technology, Department of Telecom, Ministry of Communications and IT, Government of India. I would request Shri T.V. Ramachandran, Chairman, ASSOCHAM National Council on Telecom, to please present the bunch of flowers. Please put your hands together for him. And after this floral welcome, as we are ahead to proceed on with this particular summit, so firstly, please allow me to invite on the podium Shri T.V. Ramachandran, the Chairman, ASSOCHAM National Council on Telecom, for the welcome address. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister John McCaslin, Mr. P.K. Bhargava, Advisor Technology from DOT, Mr. Balaji, Mr. Sandeep Bhargava, Mr. Shashi, all the distinguished guests here today. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to this, one of the first functions on internet governance that we are seeing here in Delhi, in India. And I'm very happy that ASSOCHAM has taken a lead in this matter, which we have done jointly with the Telecoms Council and the IT Council. My colleague, Mr. Shashi has played a great part in kicking off this initiative. And so we are pleased to have this first session, something of a brainstorming on the subject of internet governance. The title of the session today, as given me by ASSOCHAM, is Governing the Internet, Chaos, Control, or Consensus. A rather unusual title, very interesting because all the possibilities are there. Chaos, control, or consensus. And I recall that the earliest architects of the internet actually had a strong central conviction that the internet cannot be governed. They meant it to be that way. In many ways, it was supposed to be completely free, ungovernable. And it proved true also in the early days, when a majority of nation states kept off interfering with the functioning of the internet. For one thing, they didn't have a clue, maybe, but they also did not get into this new thing which was catching the fancy of everybody. However, over the years, with the growing popularity of the net, many countries are increasingly vying for control over that. That's a fact of life, and nothing surprising. It is to be understood, and it shows the interest of the nations. Hence, therefore, some concerns raised in some areas, discussions have arisen, and debates that are quite strong and vibrant around the institutional structures that should be followed for governing the internet. So these have been the things which have started developing in the last few years. And my colleague Shashi will be dealing more with the history of that. In the limited time given to me, I would just like to cover some other aspects. I would just first like to state that the subject of internet governance, therefore, is one which is extremely complex. I would think that it is one of the most complex and most emotive ones of this decade. As a subject of internet governance, and also embracing the even more emotive subject of net neutrality, which is there in that. It has many actors, multiplicity of actors, and a multiplicity of layers. In fact, it involves as many as 6 broad categories of areas and as many as 50-odd subtopics and issues, as many as 51 subtopics and issues as have been listed. So therefore, it's an impossible attempt for me to deal with any parts of that in this address in a session like this. That's going to take several sessions, several experts to discuss that. Since the mandate is for me to only give a sort of industry welcome address, I'll attempt only a few of these aspects today. As I said, the internet was supposed to be ungovernable. Then came the WSIS 2002, and then we went on to Geneva Declaration of 2003, that internet governance should involve all stakeholders and relevant intergovernmental organizations and international organizations. This multi-stakeholder model for governance, with the involvement of nation-state participants and other actors, is reflective of the largely networked management of the internet till the time, and hence pretty revolutionary. The Geneva Declaration, in fact, in its paragraph 49, said, and I now quote, "The policy authority for internet-related public policy issues is a sovereign right of the state." Let us understand. Private sector has had and should continue to have an important role in the development of the internet, both in the technical and in the economic fields. Civil society has also played an important role on internet matters and should continue to play a role, such a role. Intergovernmental organizations have had and continue a facilitating role. Each word is well thought of in their declaration. Lastly, international organizations have also had and should continue to have an important role in the development of internet-related technical standards and relevant policies. And all this of Geneva Declaration was reaffirmed in 2005 in the Tunis Agenda. As stated in Tunis, the need for an enhanced cooperation was recognized to enable governments on an equal footing to carry out their roles and responsibilities in this area. We also believe from industry that a major feature of technical governance comprises of control of the organizations that are the technical aspects, like ICANN and IANN. ICANN, as you all know, largely controls the critical internet resources. Much of the technical infrastructure actions stem from that. One might think that it is only a technical area, so, okay, that's only for the specialist. But what I wish to place before you in this initial address is that the one who controls the critical internet resources also has a play on the policy aspects. All the policy aspects are influenced by some of these aspects of critical internal resources that one has to deal with. I'll give a few examples. For example, a procedure to allocate address blocks or separation of registries or registrars raises questions of competition policy. So you may think a technical area, but directly competition policy comes in. Editing of root zone files can have impact on national economies all over the world and be tied in with issues of digital divide, including multilingualism. New DNS securitization regimes have the potential to hamper or help national security. So hence, I'm not surprised. The words of Milton Moyler, he said, to enforce public policy, the internet is to regulate, enforce public policy upon the internet is to regulate technical and operational matters and vice versa. So they are all interlinked. You cannot get away from that. Hence, you get into all issues of technical governance, which are, like I said, as many as 5 buckets: infrastructure related, standardization related, legal aspects. Legal includes security, economic aspects, development aspects, and in legal aspects, with the happening of Snowden, many other issues arose, which we have to take cognizance of from the government point of view. Development aspects, socio-cultural aspects, all have a play in this. So this is a vast zone. So where do we come in as an industry body, as a business facilitating body? What is the business's role in this, in global IG policy development? Questions arise. Should business, first of all, participate in global internet policy or look after its own field, its own way? Should business participate in all issues of majority or majority issues, except maybe cybercrime, etc., or none at all? These are all options which we all have to debate. Should the level of participation from businesses be the issue for example, issue-based, for example, direct and full, or direct but partial, or neither of this, but indirect, consultative. So these are all issues we have to debate going forward. I would humbly submit that at this early nascent stage, industry as a whole has tremendous stakes in this entire subject of internet governance, and therefore strongly supports an enhanced multi-stakeholder model that features a few key issues. We cannot survive in business, even the country cannot survive without these issues. First of all, maintaining an open internet that is safe, secure, stable, trustworthy, and interoperable. It has to work like that, otherwise it will be completely fragmented, balkanized, and no benefit to anybody. Secondly, continuing the decentralized development of the internet, which is not controlled by any particular interest groups. We cannot have particular interest groups seize the internet. It should not be particular countries taking it, or groups of countries, or particular regulatory regimes taking it. It has to be broad and open. Thirdly, encouraging open and inclusive, as well as diverse models for internet governance decision-making that ensures participation of all stakeholders. Promoting the globalization of key internet governance functions in a transparent way, which preserves resilience, security, and viability, stability of the internet. And last but not the least, most important in fact, ensuring that and here India's role will come in, ensuring that the internet governance model works in a manner that is at least equally favorable to the developing countries as to the developed world. You're all aware of the issues that will arise in this area. We are not asking for any better treatment, but we as the developing countries, and that too particularly from countries like India, which have huge stakes in this, need to have conditions that are at least, the manner is at least as favorable to us as to other countries in the developed world. We believe that there is no need to create any new institutions. A lot of good work has been done in the last few years, and we don't want to duplicate work that's already been done and in progress. So actually the Internet Governance Forum, the multi-stakeholder forum created already by the bodies, should be strengthened to reflect the changing nature and multiple natures of internet governance. It has played a very important part in holding together all the stakeholders, and we need to merely help make that grow and be stronger. I wanted to say a couple of things, but I would, with the kind permission of the audience and my esteemed fellow panelists, I would like to make some, though net neutrality is one of the hot issues which is encompassed in internet governance, and we are all very agitated about it in India today. And that's going to be debated appropriately. Actually, although it is a part of internet governance, net neutrality has taken on a life of its own, a character of its own. It's beginning to move in its own way. As you all know, it's getting very, very emotive. So we need to deal with that also. I would like to quote the latest on 6th of May, I think, the great digital single market decision of Europe. It has got tremendous lessons for us. I'll just read, quote. It says in the single market decision, the strategy for that, creating right conditions and level playing field and advanced digital networks and innovative services. All that is included in what we will be doing as internet governance. And now I quote, the digital single market must be built on reliable, trustworthy, high-speed, affordable networks and services that safeguard consumers' fundamental rights to privacy and personal data protection, while also encouraging innovation. This requires a strong, competitive, and dynamic telecom sector to carry out the necessary investments to exploit innovations such as cloud computing, big data tools, Internet of Things. And only yesterday, we had a big launch of IoT-related M2M roadmap yesterday by the Government of India, which was a very unique thing. In the last 20 years, I have not seen such good work being done. The market power of some online reforms potentially raises concerns, and particularly in relation to the most powerful platforms whose importance for other market participants is becoming increasingly critical. They go on to say, and this I hope here with the kind permission of this panel, esteemed panel, we take note of in industry and in government here going forward. They have decided, and this is a decision of the complete European Union, which is like India. There are so many states there equal to so many states here. Telecoms operators compete with services that are increasingly used by end users as substitutes for traditional electronic communication services, such as voice telephony, but which are not subject to the same regulatory regime. That's important. The review of the telecoms rules will look at ways of ensuring a level playing field for all players to the extent that they provide competing services, and also of meeting the long-term connectivity needs of the states. The Commission will present proposals in 2016 for an ambitious overhaul of the telecoms regulatory framework, focusing on a consistent single market approach, delivering conditions for a true single market by tackling the regulatory fragmentation, ensuring level playing field, and incentivizing investment in high-speed broadband networks. I'm not quoting the full part. So these are all most relevant, important. And ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this is part of internet governance. But many of us think that it needs to be treated separately also, because it is assuming an urgency and a significance today, which is very relevant for countries like ours and countries abroad. So we need to look at that aspect. We need to do many things. And to just recall, I said we talk of 6 broad categories and over 50 types of issues, only one of which is net neutrality. That being the case, Mr. Bhargava, sir, we have a humble plea to you from the industry. I think to make this Internet Governance Forum work, I think much can be done, as I was mentioning a little while ago also, like the remarkably good work done on the field of M2M by both industry and government working together. I think if government, DOT, takes the lead in setting up a cell which drives Internet governance framework coordination and meetings on that. Because otherwise, piecemeal, I see industry going in different sides, different people saying different things in different fora, which we have had told to us by other ministries that various participants who come, actors who come, whether from public or private, each one is saying different things in different fora. That confuses them. So it'll be good to have one cohesive framework driven by DOT. And if that can be the way going forward, many of these issues can be discussed and probably taken forward in a useful way. Thank you. I think I've taken much more time than I say. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you and to this distinguished panel which we have here. I have now pleasure in handing over to my colleague, Mr. Shashi Mal. He heads the IT committee, and he is going to talk more about this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramachandran. Minister McCaslin, Mr. A.K. Bhargava, Mr. Sandeep Bhargava, Mr. Balaji, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you, and we really welcome you here and thank you for sparing your valuable time in discussing this very important topic on internet governance. Internet governance, like internet itself, had a very humble beginning. As we all know, internet emerged somewhere around 1969 by connecting some computers in the buildings of universities and army and military, and it was a simple affair. Then it appeared there was little need for governance. Subsequently, with the creation of TCP protocol by the US academics and development of worldwide protocols, the foundation for global expansion of internet was laid. The more the society depends on internet, more will be the relevance of internet governance. The growth and globalization of internet over the last few decades has been nothing short of being remarkable. virtually all sectors, including politics, has been transformed with internet. Yet how internet is governed has not kept pace with rapid technological advances and creativity of individuals. So if we were to look at or categorize the governing issues, we could broadly put into two areas. The first being how internet can be managed so it can be continued, so that it can continue to grow rapidly. Secondly, how to legally govern activity conducted on the internet. Both are complex. As Mr. Ramachandran said, that there are 50 issues probably in each of these categories. But I think it's very important that at least we should know that what are the areas we need to focus on. So with the growing interest in the use of internet, the number of stakeholders has increased. It has brought a proliferation of stakeholders, especially with economic and intellectual interest. This interest has now risen to a struggle to find an appropriate social structure to guide the internet of the future. Given the large number of stakeholders involved in driving internet, it is difficult to form a social structure which is acceptable to all. So internet today has evolved from a research-based closed network of critical public and commercial infrastructure used by all. Almost all internet infrastructure is provided and owned by private sector. With no centralized control or technological information on policies for access and usage, each constituent is setting its own standards. Internet has been by and large till now self-governed, but is greatly influenced by the market mechanisms, the internet service providers, the government, the regulatory bodies, businesses, and so many more stakeholders. So figuring out how to evolve the internet governance in a way that are effective is essential to ensure its continued potential. Diverse and contrasting actors of internet need flexible, innovative decision-making to address and respond to ever-changing issues and concerns on the internet. So a lot of work has happened on internet governance. Many international bodies, including United Nations, have been involved in picking up this topic for discussion and evolving some governing standards. So if we were to look at all the areas on which discussions have happened, we could broadly classify into 4 key themes. So number one is managing the systematic risk. So this topic deals with cybersecurity and cooperation between the agencies, protecting the infrastructure, problems of attribution, monitoring, and verification. One of the biggest challenge we have in the internet is anonymous. So how do you bring the attribution and monitoring and verification? Cybercrime. Cybercrime has become a big threat. Surveillance and technical risks. So these are some of the management issues of managing a systematic risk which needs to be addressed, and working groups have to come together to address these issues. However, we cannot forget promoting innovation, because access and interconnection, they are the heart of growth for internet. Critical infrastructure resources, like ICANN. Cloud computing. I think cloud computing is also becoming very, very relevant as it is getting adopted by the industry as a whole. This issue of intersection of internet governance and international trade. And I think we have seen this very recently with the e-commerce business which is growing in our country and globally. And overall, how do we develop the ecosystem so that there's innovation in internet and it can grow? We cannot forget about rights online. The gap between the real world or the virtual world. So principle of technological neutrality in internet, privacy and freedom, differentiating between cybercrime and cyber protest, needs of developing countries and developed world. And the fourth discussion point, which has been done globally and is still under progress, is the current internet governance system. Government used source of communication, and hence, it impacts various cultures across the borders. And this raises a lot of conflicts, and also at times the stability of the networks and increasing the risk of fragmentation. However, a distributed yet coordinated framework that can accommodate a plurality of existing and emerging decision-making approach, and also that enables effective and diverse participation between institutions, actors across the border, is critical for governance of internet. Although there will be no right and wrong answers in this area, however, we still need to manage all these issues which are relevant. So in the spirit of open consultation, expert dialogue, and diversity of opinion, ASSOCHAM and we are pleased to organize this conference. Today, the agenda, of course, will not cover all the issues, but let's make a beginning. And as you would have seen from the agenda, the three big topics what we are going to cover is how well India is represented to influence the growth of governance on internet globally. We are a very large nation, we are a very active internet community and users, and with mobile penetration, I think internet penetration is going further. So India has to play a very important role in this. Net neutrality, I think it's a very hot topic, and it's a very important topic too. And the third, what we are going to talk about, freedom of speech. So as Mr. Ramachandran said, that this is a beginning what we are making, and probably this is the first conference we have in Delhi on internet governance. I am very confident that with the response and the support of all of you in this room, we would be able to carry this mission further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Friends, when we talk about life, it's about big visions and grand innovations. But when we actually talk about the industry of internet, it's not about grand innovations, but it's about a lot of little innovations. That is why maybe we call it a tough industry. Because there was a time when people used to think internet is another world. But now people have realized that internet is a tool which is used in this world itself. That is the reason we are here today in this summit, to explore the new horizons in this particular industry. So let's get a feel of this theme again with the theme address from none other than Director, Regulatory and External Affairs, Vodafone India, and member ASSOCHAM, Shri P. Balaji. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you very much. Mr. John McCaslin, Mr. Shashi, Mr. A.K. Bhargava, Mr. Ramachandran, Mr. Bhargava, ladies and gentlemen. I guess a lot has already been said by the earlier two speakers, very little to cover for me, except to say that the context of this whole discussion is most appropriate. The timing is right. Clearly, the broader agenda for internet governance needs to be looked at before we get stuck into one topic, which is net neutrality. But I guess if you just step back a little bit and see the context of what's happening around the world, it's about 3 billion people that today access internet. Clearly, India is about 280 odd, gives you roughly about 9 to 10% of people that access internet today. That's the statistic on which we can say, okay, that's 10% of the world accessing internet are Indians. We're the third largest. But the larger context is that while the world is talking about 50 billion devices, and quite frankly, it's fantastic that we now have a roadmap on M2M, but the roadmap needs to be converted into policy. There needs to be a lot more implementation that needs to happen on it. A lot of work, but the early steps have been taken. But if I look at the challenges ahead, it's about saying it's not about 300 million people that have access to internet today, but it's about 1 billion people that don't have access to it. So it is not about just the people who have access, but the ones who need access, which is equally important. Clearly, internet governance is necessary to keep the internet working. Frankly, the way it impacts our lives is obviously known to all of us. It impacts not just our lives as individuals, but it impacts lives of societies, nations, businesses, and the world around us. And clearly, there are many issues that it therefore opens up in terms of access to information, access to inclusion, whether it's financial inclusion models or others that are equally critical to look at. And so while the internet itself is, as a technology, evolving, the governance and administration of that needs to constantly evolve. If I cut into the Indian context, the good news is that India has always kind of had strong institutions and strong processes. As long as we kind of respect those institutions and processes for what they bring on the table, which is diversity of views of all stakeholders, which Mr. Ramachandran and Mr. Shashi were talking about, whether it's different arms of government, state or central, or whether it's business or whether it's civil society or other interest groups. Clearly, the fact that these institutions address through open dialogue issues which are broad in nature and then kind of distill into policies that are well thought through and researched in the context of A, India as a sovereign nation, and B, in the context of us being part of a connected world, I think is important. So as long as shrill voices are heard for what they are meant to be, but kind of balanced with an overall view that is well considered, I think we are in good shape. So the fact that we have TRI consultation on a topic which of course was referred to on net neutrality, that's wonderful. Clearly, there's a consultation of TRAI. There is a very strong effort that DOT itself has taken in terms of putting together a group that has already started to engage with many stakeholders, is ready and building capacity to deal with the recommendations of TRAI and also their own independent research by working with other governments and world bodies, is I think welcome, and I'm sure we'll make the right decision. But I think I want to just dwell on 2 or 3 things from a broader perspective on what I started with to say, that A, if you just focus on providing internet for all, then it's about equality of the net, making provision for the same. And then what it really talks about is, are we there? The answer is no, we are far from that journey. The small innovations, the large ones that have taken place in this industry in the last 15 years, have not just been a victory for the industry alone, but also for many policies that in the turn of the century, 99 onwards, were taken by the government, basis multilateral conversations. And that allowed for us today to have access to almost everyone, nearly about 85% to 90% of the landmass of India is covered. The fact that we talk about close to 1 billion connections, even with multiple SIMs, is a testimony of the fact that innovation happened on business models, on policies, and an overall collaborative approach. But frankly, the journey from 280 or 300 million internet subscribers to 1 billion plus is a very long one. To put it in context, this industry of telecom invested, and IT as well, invested about 750,000 crores in 20 years. 750,000 crores in 20 years just to provide voice connectivity. The ask in the next 5 years, not 20, but in 5 years, is 500,000 crores. Where's that investment coming from? Unless there is investable surplus, unless there's an environment that fosters investment, unless there's a viable industry. And today the industry, if you look at it, with its debt of 350,000 crores on a turnover of 250,000 crores, is far from that. A return on capital employed, 1% compared to what you get even in Axis Bank today on Savings Bank, 6%, are all broader questions that need to be addressed in the context of saying, okay, internet for all, governance, but first internet, and along with that, make sure that the march of technology and governance keeps in pace with it. So access and affordability, my point was an important topic to focus on. Clearly, the discussion on security, privacy, and the whole gamut of issues around that, I think, is an important one that I'm sure will get addressed in the coming sessions as well as in the days ahead in the debate. The third thing is about something that was spoken in the context of innovation and providing services of certain grade and also innovation to consumers. So in that context, it's important to understand that innovation takes place in all dimensions of of the sector. It's just not over the top, but it's at the service provider level that as well innovation takes place. So clearly the discussion that happened a little while back when Mr. Ramachandran was talking about same service, same rules is an important one to ponder on. For no other reason that, as he said, the DSM or the Digital Single Market pronouncement itself addresses that particular issue. It is important to understand that if there are services that are common in nature to what is provided by existing players, that we need to provide a framework of level playing field and competition. I don't want to, to kind of stress on it too much, but I know that we have a very, very enlightened government and an enlightened DOT that's obviously considering these factors. The fact is that on one hand, you're talking about, industries and operators that need to literally, before they launch a product, think about, my God, is there a license condition that we might be potentially, violating, which might, at the turn of the service, impact thousands of crores of fines being levied. For example, I just give you an old example of push to talk, and that potentially was for a national player worth 1,600 crores of penalties, which are being litigated upon. So that's one set of players that look at innovation in the context of customers or consumers, whether it's business or individuals, and that gets kind of a certain reaction. And the other hand, you have other players where innovation is celebrated as, wow, how revolutionary. It needs to be looked at in that context to say, okay, are we treating all the players equally or not? That's one context, I'm sure, that would get looked into. Same thing would be true about M2M. Today, across the world, when we talk about 50 billion connected, devices or Internet of Things, that entire innovation is happening with strong participation of industry with operators. We just need to make sure that some of the governance and the license and all the other norms are also kind of looked at very carefully. I have no doubt that we have Mr. Bhargava, who represents the government, which, as I said, has always, over 20 years, been mindful of some of these things and planning ahead to make sure that we could hit the revolution. We'll also take into account the broader issues that come with this in terms of allowing for innovation to be taken up by all players. So in a nutshell, it's about access and affordability, which is the key to providing, internet to all. It's about balancing issues of security, privacy. It's about providing level playing field to all operators, with all players, with the intent of providing innovative solution to consumers. And everything that was said about open internet that's safe, secure, stable, and trustworthy absolutely holds good. So with that, I just say thank you for all of you to participate here. I think, as we said, this is the first conference to address this particular topic with the institutions that we have in place and a broader, consultation process that's been already initiated. I'm quite certain that in the coming 12 to 18 months, we'll make the right steps to ensure that we continue to be as successful 10 years back, looking in the way we are today, looking at the telecom revolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Friends, when we talk about the internet governance, I must say that it is a tree which is growing, and it knows the trick of growing up without growing old. So let me please invite on podium now the persona who knows what it is to be growing. Please welcome Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs, Embassy of the United States of America, Shri John M. McCaslin. Please put your hands together.
Good. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of a very esteemed panel of speakers. Mr. Ramachandran from ASSOCHAM, Mr. Shashi Bimal from IBM, Mr. Balaji from Vodafone, and the Honorable Mr. A.K. Bhargava from the Department of Telecommunications, and Sandeep Bhargava from Microsoft. It's a great government and industry panel here. Thanks again to ASSOCHAM for the opportunity to talk to you today about this important issue of optimizing tremendous economic and social benefits of the internet, while minimizing risks to cybersecurity, online crime, and terrorism. Commend ASSOCHAM at this time for taking up such a critical and topical issue. It's a pleasure to participate in your meeting today to discuss India's increased participation and technological contributions to the Internet, perhaps the most defining innovation of our time. But I want to start with a quick overview of overall Indo-US relations, which in the last 6 months have experienced an incredible and positive sea change. President Obama describes the US-India relationship as a defining relationship of the 21st century. Ambassador Verma has termed our relationship as strategic plus. All of these descriptions focus on a common theme, as the world's two largest democracies, the United States and India, have more in common today than ever before. We're uniquely positioned to promote freedom, whether via the election booth, free markets, freedom of speech, both online and offline. The breadth of our relationship is remarkable. Our partnership spans outer space to cyberspace. The Mars orbital mission epitomizes US-India collaboration that unites our engineering talent, our satellite communications networks, and most importantly, a vision to jointly promote innovation, science, technology for the betterment of humanity. And the Mars orbital mission in particular, I think the United States could learn a lot from India how to efficiently plan such an incredibly ambitious mission for $74 million. It's truly outstanding. The United States welcomes the deepening relationship with India. Let me share some highlights with you of some of the progress we've made in just the short time since Prime Minister Modi visited Washington last September and met with President Obama. Since that time, we jointly hosted the Indo-US Technology Summit last November in New Delhi, drawing 1,500 participants to discuss a broad range of technology, research, and scientific collaboration opportunities. Our governments are tracking more than 70 action items emanating from the Prime Minister's meeting with President Obama from January. We are jointly working on several important dialogues addressing business and technology issues, the overarching strategic and commercial dialogue, cyber consultations, the Information and Communications Technology Working Group, just to name a few. And we have announced plans to partner with India on smart city initiatives, digital India, nuclear, solar, and wind energy. These discrete indicators of progress complement the backdrop of our expanding commercial relationship. Recently, our annual bilateral trade between the United States and India crossed the $100 billion mark. But we're not satisfied and not stopping there. Our leaders have committed both countries to the ambitious and achievable target of $500 billion in bilateral trade in the near future. Information technology will be a central element in reaching this goal. The U.S. benefits, as Indian and Indian Americans are high producers of innovation, technology, and entrepreneurism within the U.S. economy. The brightest minds in India study in the United States, and by recent accounts, India Inc. has invested $17 billion in the United States and supports over 80,000 U.S. jobs. Indian entrepreneurs are highly successful, and many are coming back. Now, moving from context to vision, as you may know, tomorrow is World Information Day, formerly known as World Telecommunications Day. This change is more than just semantics. There's no better place than India to see how the telecommunications landscape has evolved from yesterday's plain old telephone system, which provided simple point-to-point connections, to today's interconnected network of networks we call the Internet, altering every aspect of the way we live, work, and play. Consider how the Internet has changed these everyday facets of life. We now interact with friends through Skype and Facebook. We buy birthday cards on Flipkart. We relax by streaming TV, downloading video games, and reading ebooks. We Google, we like, we friend, and we tweet. Beyond our changing lexicon, computers, internet, cyberspace, the information society, whatever you want to call it, the technology, apps, and unfettered connectivity benefit our economy, enhance our political participation, and transform society. In India, this revolution is nothing short of transformational. The Internet permeates the vision laid out by Prime Minister Modi as embodied in the Digital India, Smart Cities, and Make in India programs. The United States salutes the Prime Minister's vision and encourages India's government, industry, civil society, and everyday citizens to take an active role in today's internet governance multi-stakeholder institutions. As the world's largest democracy and an incubator to one of the most innovative and robust technical communities, India understands the benefits from increased engagement in multi-stakeholder discussions where all voices have the opportunity to participate and be heard. The United States believes government, civil society, the technical community, and private sector stakeholders who contribute to the growth and development of the internet have a shared responsibility to preserve its openness, security, and vitality for the benefit of our people and posterity. We believe the key to the internet's continued success lies in the multi-stakeholder community, and therefore a multi-stakeholder approach to internet governance. In contrast, we believe that a multilateral or intergovernmental approach would not only constrict the internet's openness, it would hamper its functioning, growth, and innovation going forward. India's tech and business communities have a role to play in ensuring your industry voices are heard in multi-stakeholder institutions, and we look forward to working with you as you increase your engagement in this space. We invite you to participate in ICANN and send technical experts to the IETF and engage in the next Internet Governance Forum in Brazil. We encourage your government to join these processes as well so they can also contribute to and benefit from the discussions and proceedings there. As you debate domestic internet issues, we looked to increase your role in the internet stage and help you become a major player and offer a few insights from our own experience, some of which we've learned the hard way. The internet is an economic and social imperative, and its governance needs to be flexible and responsive as its myriad uses, while at the same time providing a safe and secure environment for its users. There is room at the table for all stakeholders. We all have roles to play in various aspects of the internet, whether it be in providing expertise in technology, ensuring fairness and openness, providing for safety and security, and developing new products or business models that can thrive in a global environment. Together, we must all work to nurture and evolve this incredible engine of economic growth and social change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Friends, as we all know that technology always brings in ease to our working pattern. And when we talk about today's information technology, it has practically eliminated the physical cost involved. And that could have never been possible without the support of government. So now let us have the keynote address from the mouth of the man himself, the Advisor Technology Department of Telecom, Ministry of Communications and IT, Government of India, Shri A.K. Bhargava. Please put your hands together for him.
Good morning, Minister Councillor Shri John McCaslin, Shri Ramachandran, Shri Shashi Bimal, Shri Balaji, Shri Sandeep Bhargava, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank ASSOCHAM for inviting me here. And when I got the invite, I was a little intrigued by the topic, because I just wondered what the serious organization like ASSOCHAM is talking about: chaos, control, and consensus, because nobody wants chaos. We all abhor control, and it's impossible to have consensus. Even in this room, leave aside the world. So the question was, are we being alarmist? I think no, because anyone who predicts an earthquake is an alarmist till the earthquake actually happens. And I would say that Snowden revelations were no less than the earthquake. Is this topic fanciful? I would say no, because anything connected with internet is a burning question these days, especially with more than 3 billion people on the net and almost 300 million out of them in India. So are we justified in being apprehensive? about the questions that were raised earlier. Perhaps yes. Are we justified in being concerned about internet governance? Certainly yes. Concerned because, as we all know, internet affects our all facets of life, the way we communicate, we talk, we express, we entertain, we play, we interact with friends, we educate, we conduct our business, and add to this the Internet of Things with all billions of devices and Internet of everything. So today probably the influence and impact of Internet on us and on our lives is much more than probably our government, till of course it comes the time to pay our taxes. So just as we are concerned about the governance in the real world, in the real life, on the real issues like fairness, transparency, stability, equality, democracy, in the virtual world also, I think those issues are real issues and we need to be concerned. And since the issue of internet governance is globally important and critical, more than ever, let me begin with some sort of definition which was given in WSIS Tunis agenda on what the internet governance is. That is the development and application by governments, the private sector and civil society in their respective roles of shared principles, norms, rules, decision-making procedures and programs that shape the evolution and use of the internet. So while on this definition, I just want to touch upon the key word decision-making, which is the heart of governance in the current structures of internet governance. In spite of GAC, that is Government Advisory Committee, being involved in the ICANN activities, it is a fact that it does not have any voting rights in the board decisions and its role is limited to purely advisory. In all other committees, wherever it is present, its role is only advisory. So how do we ensure right decision making and right governance? Perhaps these are some of the many issues because of which the subject of internet governance has been extensively debated and deliberated by the world community. Let me mention the Geneva Declaration of Principles in 2003, Tunis Agenda in 2005, and Net Mundial discussions in 2014, which do provide some guidance in this regard. But as they say, kahani abhi baki hai, and that is because the debate is still raging on two approaches about how to deal with this. Broadly speaking, between a multi-stakeholder system, which aims to place all stakeholders on equal footing, vis-a-vis multilateralism, which is a recognized concept in international law or the Committee of Nation States, where a nation state is recognized as the representative of citizens, making decisions on their behalf and in their interest. So we all know that internet governance has several components, such as management of network and numbering its resources, development of standards and policies, traffic management, network security, information security, etc. So some of these functions are essentially sovereign in nature. So for effective management of these components in the internet infra ecosystem, it may be argued that multilateral approach, other countries have different position on this. So where do we stand on this issue in India? Let me say that India is a land of diversity. So within the country, it is but natural that we will have different views on internet governance. There are differing perspectives, like government having security-driven perspective, industry having business perspective, and citizens having perspective from a freedom of speech point of view. Some of us in the country are concerned, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the government. I'm speaking as a matter of someone who is in the know, and in general, that developing countries, some of them have hegemony over internet. This is what some of people feel. They feel that ICANN serves the strategic interest of a particular country and lacks accountability. Some others feel that multi-stakeholder approach has broad acceptance across the globe. So we need to leverage our strength of IT, human resources, and market for the development, social, technical, and economic considerations. And this would require greater acceptance of multi-stakeholder approach. Some of us in DOT, we have affinity to ITU. And we would want ITU's role in realizing a secure information society. Perhaps their role as intergovernmental agency to study, plan, develop, and coordinate policies on issues like IP addresses, allocation, traffic routing optimization, security enhancement, etc. The industry view perhaps is fragmented, but tilt towards multi-stakeholder approach. So again, I'm not speaking on government's behalf, but as a country, I think our approach is not yet fully developed. But the one major initiative that we took was of proposing in the UN General Assembly in 2011 to establish a new institutional mechanism in the UN for global internet-related policy to be called UN Committee. Many in the government feel that this is an idea worth pursuing further. So when we have these diverse, competing, conflicting views, how do we reconcile our position, and what should be our approach? Let me again look within and say that India is also the land of Buddha, who preached the middle path, the Madhyam Marg, the 8 middle path tenets. Some of the tenets of this Madhyam Marg are important in this context also, and enumerate them. Buddha said, understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right mindfulness, and right efforts. And let me put them in today's context of today's topic. Understanding. I think we do not really understand about the internet governance enough. We need to start doing that, build capacities within the country, and then leverage those capacities for better understanding of the issues. Right thought. First, we need to build trust and support an open, free, innovative, and inclusive internet, as you said. Right speech. I think we should have discussions based on facts. We should not escalate the issues, and we should not get stuck in the dichotomy between the two approaches. We need to be pragmatic. Right action. The issues of internet governance, I think, may not be acted upon in a bundled approach, but they need to be handled as component-wise by adapting best possible approach for its effective governance. Right mindfulness. We need to be more participative. We need to have more participative decision-making and policy formulation in internet governance. We need to include all these stakeholders. Right efforts. I think we should leave technical and infra development of the internet to private sector, standards to internet institutions, and build upon the capacity and capability within and outside. So in order to follow this middle path, in order to explore the best possible options to build an international framework to formulate the principles of internet governance, we must change and move forward. And when we move forward to Dhammam, or as they say, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. So what this Dhammam should be, it should be meaning maintaining the transparency, neutrality, privacy, security, and the democratic fabric of the internet. That is the internet Dhammam. And with that, I would like to end. You would have noticed that I have very neatly sidestepped the issue of net neutrality because as chairman of the committee, I would like to speak through the report and not speak out of turn. But anyway, I would like to thank ASSOCHAM for inviting me here. They probably expected me to give a technical note of address, and I ended up giving you a philosophical note. But on that note, I would like to end, and thank you all for listening to me patiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was actually wonderful. And let me please share with you that we are also going to have one more interesting session after the lunch. I'm telling about that particular session, which is going to focus on the privacy and freedom of speech, its impact on internet governance. Let me please share with you that that session will be embraced by Shri Manish Tiwari, Secretary, Foreign Affairs Department, and former Union Minister, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, Shri Yashovardhan Azad, Information Commissioner, India, Shri Arun Mohan Sukumar, Senior Fellow, Center for Communication Governance, National Law University, Dr. Sampit Patra, National Spokesperson, BJP, Shri Somnath Bharti, MLA and Member AAP, Srimati Karuna Nandi, eminent lawyer, Supreme Court of India, and Dr. Mrs. Usha Ramanathan, researcher and advocate. That will be the session we are going to have after the lunch. But before that, we do have 2 more sessions. And proceeding towards before that, I would like to invite now on the podium Shri Sandeep Bhargava, Director, Microsoft and member ASSOCHAM, for the concluding remarks. Please welcome him on the podium.
Thank you. Dear panelists on the stage, I think this is one of the most difficult tasks which I have to perform, where we have the government here, the diplomatic community here, the international pieces, and the industry as well. Thank you, audience, for our patient listening. Just to go back and flashback the last 1 hour plus session, I think TVR gave us a good insight in terms of how complex this situation is, where there are 6 areas and 50 subtopics which we need to cover, and also gives us the focus, what the business need to do from a business perspective to maintain the openness and continue with a decentralized development, encourage open and inclusive, diverse model with all stakeholders into the place, hitting towards the multi-stakeholder development, ensure that the internet governance model works in a manner which is far to developing and developed countries, equally important for both. And there is no need to create any new institution. He also smartly touched upon the topic of net neutrality, which is very prominent today and very important for all of us as an industry, and giving us insight into how important the net neutrality is part of the overall internet governance. Fellow colleague Shashi brought in the historical aspects of the internet, which really brings us back to how it started. And he touched upon the 4 key areas of the internet, especially in terms of today's context, where the risk is very important and need to be controlled over the internet. Promote innovation, which is very important because this has given us a focus, the platform where innovation has been rightly done, and we all are beneficiary for that. Protect the rights online, including technology neutrality and the privacy and the freedom. And the current internet system, which is prevailing as of now, which the government or the multi-stakeholder approach. We had an excellent address, theme address from Balaji about the internet governance. He brought in the Indian perspective also, where we still need to cover a large population in this country, not only globally, but in India as well. We are just at 280 million. So the more important aspect for us in the government is to also keep our focus onto that segment of the society, which normally relates in our terms as the bottom of the pyramid. And he also brought in few key areas about the internet for all, which means access and affordability, touching upon the important topics from an Indian context about security and privacy, need to balance that. And third key important area is about the innovation and services of continuity of innovation to the consumers. So consumer is the rightful beneficiary. When we involve business, I think consumer is the forefront. So we need to keep that as track. We had a useful insight from John in terms of the India-US relationship, which is also very important in this area. And I think in the last one year or so, we have been very positive on that. And the efforts which the Indian government and the US government has made into this affair is very important. Giving a hint of the trade which is there as of today from as at 100 billion between the two, to increase to 500 billion involves internet quite largely. So we need to really focus on that. And as US has already expressed their decision in terms of supporting the multi-stakeholder approach, I think that's very important. Involving India into various forums internationally is also very important, because if we have a market here, we have the community here, I think we need to also reach out to the international community by participating into the various forums. That's very important aspect which he also guided us. In terms of Mr. Bhargava, who gave us insight in terms of more of philosophical nature, but trying to avoid what DOT would like to say on the stage, but definitely giving us an insight of DOT's contribution in the past in the various forums globally. We really appreciate that part, and we need to involve the government as well in terms of a multi-stakeholder model, though he avoided giving a clear picture of where do we stand today. But definitely as we move forward, industry expects a multi-stakeholder approach in the overall scenario. And Mr. A.K. Bhargava also commented about that our approach is not yet developed. So I think with the internet model on a developing platform, I think government is also on the sidelines, but we need to really have an interaction between the private sector, or what we call as a multi-stakeholder approach, to really arrive to some decisions in future. So that's all I wanted to say as a concluding remarks. I think I did more than what I'm supposed to, and also thanking the sponsors who have made this session possible for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Friends, let's again maybe please have huge round of claps for all the eminent dignitaries over here on the dais. And with this, I invite you all and the dignitaries for the high tea, for the networking tea, and right after 30 minutes, we'll be starting our first session. Thank you so much. Our hands together for these eminent personalities, please. Once again, I request the eminent panelists to please be seated on the dais so that we can start the first session. And here we have with us the esteemed panelists. Let me please repeat the names of the eminent personalities who are going to have this wonderful session on how well is India represented to influence the growth and governance of Internet globally. Shri Vinay Mohan Quatra, IAFS Joint Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Shri Samiran Gupta, Head of India ICANN. Shri Virag Gupta, Partner, vast global cyber law expert and eminent lawyer, Supreme Court, Professor Rekha Jain, Professor IIM, and Shri Chiran Samuel, Associate Fellow IDSA. Ladies and gentlemen, may you please put a huge round of applause for all these eminent personalities. And as I would like to share with you that now I would like to hand over my